Hello everyone, I'm Santiago and today I'm gonna be doing the entire Fallout franchise on the RTX 3050. So Fallout 1, 2, Tactics, 3, 4, 76 and New Vegas. For 4 and New Vegas I'm going to be using mods, so I'll list them all in the description so you can find them easily. So let's get started with the first game. So for the first game we're using 2x scaling, so it's not a tiny UI, and the 1080p resolution, not 4K because again, the UI gets way smaller and it's impossible to read, at least in my opinion. And here we are. And as you can see, we get hundreds of FPS when we move around. When we stay still, it says like we have 30s. Well, that's not true. It's just a bug with the UI of the FPS counter. So yeah, it's completely smooth and fine. The mouse moves perfectly across the screen. There's no graphical bugs and the UI looks correct. It's not a super small UI like if you were playing at 4K. So let's jump into the next one. For Fallout 2, we're doing basically the same as the first game. 2x scaling, 1080p, because the UI still is very tiny otherwise. So again, when you stay still, it says 30 FPS, but that's not true. It's just a bug with the UI. We have black bars at the sides, but only when you're outside. When you go indoors, for some reason, we get the entire screen utilized. So as you can see, it's completely fine. And the UI is not super tiny, which was the big issue with this game, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's Fallout 2. Let's jump into Fallout Tactics. Fallout Tactics, this one doesn't have the scaling option, so we have to go for 720p for the UI to look correct. I know, it sounds weird, but if you put it at 4K, it'll basically be, you can see the entire map at once with some stuff unloaded. So in my opinion, there's no reason to put it at 4K, personally. And it works just fine like the other games. This is a very old title, and you can see pretty far away on this one. If you're at 4K, you can basically see those characters from across the map. There we go, reduced to atoms. So let's jump into the next one. This one is just fine. Just play at 720p for the UI to look correct. For Fallout 3, I'm using a couple of mods. The first one, as you can see, the graphics adapter says it's a GeForce 7900 GS. Well, this is to bypass the launcher because otherwise the game crashes for me after I click play. So 4K, 8x MSAA, and the rest on the highest. And on this one, it's basically locked to 60, you can unlock it, but it hasn't been a great experience for me with unlocked frame rates, so I just enable VSync. Welcome to Fallout 3, as you can see, 60 FPS. I had issues going above this. This is probably a mod that can do that, but I wasn't lucky finding it. And the GPU is basically doing nothing. The GPU doesn't care, it's just rendering this no matter what. And not much to say about this one. I installed a mod that was to... It's called the unofficial patch for Fallout 3 that fixes multiple bugs that Bethesda didn't fix. Classic. But if you're doing 1080p, 1440p, whichever of those two, you'll still be locked to 60 no matter what, so no problems in that front. I'm doing 4K because we have GPU power to spare. And let's be funny about this one. Let's shoot him in the head. I do this on each video. Yeah, heads will roll. Oh, nice gun. So as you can see, it's completely fine. Let me equip that gun that I just picked up. A BB gun. Oh, of course. Almost no ammo. So there we go. Let's jump into New Vegas now. Alright, so for New Vegas, I'm using a few mods. They're all in the description behind the link. This one is for the high frame rates. So if we go over 60, there's no problems. It worked for me on New Vegas, but not on Fallout 3, unfortunately. So settings, 4K, 4x MSAA, and everything on the highest with these mods. So let's get into it right away. Welcome to New Vegas. As you can see, unlock frame rates. Please make sure you don't go over 200 FPS or 300, just to avoid further issues. My advice is to lock it to 140 or 120, depending on your monitor's refresh rate. Just again, don't go past 200, and you should be fine. With this mod, fixes physics and all the issues that could come up with a high frame rate. Doinks, and I gained karma somehow. Yeah. Whoops. Man, my aim is non-existent. Oh, he just doesn't care, okay. Reduce 2 atoms. But sometimes when transparencies show up, you're going to get drops in performance, like here. Not a big deal in my opinion. If you're playing on 1080p or 1440p, again, please lock the frame rate to 120 or something like that, just to avoid issues with the game. Otherwise, you'll be just fine, as you can see, over 100 FPS, super smooth, no problems whatsoever. But you need the mods that I listed in the description. There's endless mods you can install for this one. There is visual things, missions. There's a huge community behind this game on the modding scene. So just go to Nexus Mods or Mods Nexus, better said, and download whatever you want. Just make sure the mods are compatible with each other. It can take a while. For Fallout 4, I installed lots of mods. So again, find them in the description. There's a high FPS physics fix for over 60 FPS. And there's some quality of life stuff as well. And for the settings, we're using 1440p on the highest, excepting weapon debris, just because weapon debris is physics and it destroys performance sometimes, and some other times just makes the game crash. So you can also do 1080p if you want to. 4K on this card, I wouldn't recommend it really, for this game at least. It can drop below 60. So let's get into it. Welcome to Fallout 4. As you can see, we're locked to 72 FPS. That's because that's half my refresh rate. I have a 144Hz display. If you have a 60Hz display or a 120Hz display, it'll lock to 60. For the life of me, I tried to unlock the frame rate, but I couldn't do it. The game just either locked to 72 or 60, no matter what I did. And I'm doing 1440p because most people that have this card probably have either a 1440p monitor or a 1080p monitor, so I don't think it makes sense to do 4K. Also, 4K drops performance in foliage heavy areas. Well, here I'm dropping some frames actually. So it's not perfect, but with the mods I installed, I think it's a great experience. Okay, good. They won't notice me. So the game works just fine. Just to make sure to not try to do 100 FPS. That's my advice at least. I'm dead. So let's go somewhere else. And just like I said before, there is endless mods for this, for visuals, for stability. Unfortunately, I was not able to unlock the frame rate this time around, like on New Vegas. But it's still completely enjoyable. In my opinion, visually it still holds up pretty well. It's just the old engine is a pain in the butt, basically. But the game performs optimally, at least in my opinion. Visually, there's lots of options when it comes to mods. Again, all the mods used are in the description, so you have quick access to them. It's a lot of links, so be ready. But overall, a great experience on this game. No issues whatsoever when it comes to the game itself. completely enjoyable, at least in my opinion, and the Deathclaw won't get very far, I think. Come on, I'm here. I can explode this car. Hey, over here. Doinks. So again, stay either at 1080p or 1440p. 4K works, but sometimes it drops below 60, so I don't think it makes sense to do it in this card, just because, again, if you have this card, you probably don't have a 4K screen. That's just a guess, of course. But if you do 4K, do medium settings and you should be fine. And finally, Fallout 76. So 1440p on this one, you can also do 1080p. High settings, FOV 95 degrees, so they actually allow you to change the FOV in a menu. And that's basically it. If you're playing at 4K, lower it to medium settings. And if you're doing 1080p, high settings is fine on this card. So now that we're into the game, as you can see, just like on Fallout 4, we're locked to 72 FPS. So same, half rate VSync. So we have a 144Hz display, so it uses half the frame rate. Locking it to 72. If you have 120Hz or 60Hz, it will lock itself to 60. And well, what to say about this one? It runs worse than Fallout 4. It has some sections that for some reason just drops below 60 for no reason whatsoever. So yeah. And when you're getting attacked by enemies or attacking the enemy themselves, sometimes it likes to drop frames for no apparent reason. So I'm guessing it's an engine limitation. But the game works fine. Even on 1080p it drops like this, so it's not a thing with the graphics card. So most of the time you should stay over 60, either on 1080p or 1440p. There is, again, some parts where it likes to drop, but that happens basically across the board on any GPU, at least in my experience with this game. So if you're interested in Fallout 76, well, it's not an issue, you can play it just fine. In my opinion, it looks worse than Fallout 4, and it runs worse as well. Server not responding, oh great. Okay, we're back now. So that's the Fallout franchise on the RTX 3050, totally capable card. The servers here are not doing great. Yeah, the server is not responding and it's doing that all the time. When that happens, the game basically doesn't allow you to control it. As I was saying, the Fallout franchise on the 3050, you can do basically all the franchise at 4K if you want to. Personally, for Fallout 4 and 76, I will do 1440p, just to stay above 60 most of the time. If you have a 1080p screen, no problem, just do 1080p, and they will run at 60 no matter what. Just make sure in New Vegas and 4 to install the mods I left in the description. Also on Fallout 3 to avoid crashing and the normal issues that Bethesda doesn't like fixing for some reason. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did revisiting Fallout once again. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.